Fantasy Baseball Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. JT Hayes, RunPureSports.com or RunPureBets.com. We're going to talk about the 8-game slate for Monday, May 17th. Prize Picks, very simple, right? You probably play this if you're subscribing to this video, which you should be, subscribing to the Mayo Media Network. Prize Picks sets a line, a fantasy point line, using DraftKings fantasy scoring. And you pick, very simply, the over, the under, what you pick, what you think that player is going to do on any given night. Now, if you're not playing Prize Picks and you want to play, and really you should play because every day of the week we're giving you essentially 2 free plays that more often than not are going to end up to be winners, you go to prizepicks.com, enter code MMN-MLB. That's MMN, like the Mayo Media Network, which you should be subscribing to and liking this video. MMN-MLB, enter that code and get a $100 deposit match. So, a couple of plays that I think, lines that they've set, that I think players are going to go over or under. I hate to bet the under, so let's start with the over. We're going to talk about the Chicago White Sox going into Minnesota, going against J.A. Happ, left-handed pitcher. The White Sox have been white hot against left-handed pitching. Outside of the game on Saturday night when Mike Minor turned in a really, really good, strong performance against them, but they had played 2 the day before. Maybe their bats were a little bit slower than they ordinarily would be. But on Monday night, Jose Abreu, they've set the line at 7.5 fantasy points against J.A. Happ. Jose Abreu himself has been on fire, and I think he's going to easily surpass that 7.5 fantasy point line. So Jose Abreu over 7.5 fantasy points in Minnesota against J.A. Happ, and a bullpen that's been not just league average, but below league average for the year. Second player that I think is going to go over or under, Colorado Rockies. They head into San Diego. They go from Colorado into San Diego, so from perhaps the best, one of the best all-time hitters parks in the league, into a park in San Diego, in Petco, that even though it's one of the most beautiful parks in all of Major League Baseball, and all of baseball, wherever you are, it's just known to be more of a pitcher's park, and he's going to be facing Yu Darvish, who has looked every bit like a Cy Young contender so far this year. So Trevor Story, the over-under is 6 fantasy points. I think he's going to go under it. I think Yu Darvish is going to have a game against the Colorado Rockies, and the San Diego bullpen has been really, really good, despite a batch of injuries that Chase Tingler is managing expertly. So, Jose Abreu over 7.5 fantasy points, and Trevor Story under 6 fantasy points. As we all know, things could change. That's why you should come and visit RunPureSports.com, RunPureBets.com. Enter code RPSHeater25. Why RPS Heater? Because we're on a permanent heater. All of our members, all of our founding members, all of our coordinators, including me, we just win. We just win all the time. So RPS Heater 25, come visit us. We have Discord, which you're going to want to be in to find out right up to lock any changes, anything that we see, any edges we see, as well as core plays, playbooks, and on the bet side. And they track the bets, so you can find out who's doing well, who's doing not so well, but guess what? Everybody does really, really well at Run Pure Sports. So, RPS Heater 25, 25% off your first payment. Go over and check that out just in case we change our minds and say that maybe Jose Abreu won't hit the over and Trevor Story will. I don't think we're going to change that. So I have the privilege of recording this video every Sunday to talk to you about what is going to happen on Monday, what I think is going to happen on Monday, and Monday's slate. Monday's daily fantasy sports slate, Monday's picks, Monday's best bets. And it seems like every time I'm coming on and recording this video, I'm talking about a no-hitter. Joe Musgrove, Wade Miley last week, Madison Bumgarner, even though Major League Baseball, shame, still says that's not a no-hitter. I'm gonna say it is. I believe it is. No no-hitters this week. Ian Anderson on Saturday night against the Brewers was close, 6 no-hit innings. He did give it up. He ended up getting the win, giving up a run, no problem. But no no-hitters to talk about this week. Unfortunately, the big story this week, injuries around Major League Baseball. hurting so many teams, but probably none more so than the Los Angeles Dodgers, the reigning, defending, undisputed, because it is an undisputed world championship, regardless of what you think of the short season title. None more so than the Los Angeles Dodgers. Look, Dustin May, we already know, he's undergone Tommy John surgery. He's out for a while. Cody Bellinger out without timetable for return. Zach McKinstry, one of their really good prospects, out for a long time, it seems. Edwin Rios, one of their better platoon players, does a great job against right-handed pitching. He's out for a while. And now over the weekend, A.J. Pollock goes down with a hamstring injury. And Corey Seager, one of the most exciting players in the game, hit by a pitch on the right hand, fracture in that hand. He's going to be out for at least a month. Look, the Dodgers don't skip a beat. Say what you want about the way that Dave Roberts handles his pitching staff for DFS, for Daily Fantasy Sports. But obviously it's working. They took 2 out of 3 against the Marlins this weekend. They're in third place, but just by a couple of games in the National League West. And that Trevor Bauer signing, I legitimately thought on Saturday night he was going to break the single-season Major League Baseball single-game strikeout record. He eventually cooled down, and Dave Roberts pulled him a little bit early because, hey, he's going to need him with all these injuries. They took 2 or 3 from the Marlins. They're in third place. They're going to get a lot of these guys back. They're going to get Cody Bellinger back. Corey Seager is going to come back. They're probably going to get McKinstry back. And they're going to get Edwin Rios back. And these fill-ins are doing fine for them. So they're managing their injuries pretty well. Another team that's been hampered by the injury bug just over the course of the last couple of weeks, San Diego Padres, second place in the National League West. Really good job done here by Jace Tingler. They've been without several players who are in COVID protocols over the course of the past week, including one of their best players, if not their best player, Fernando Tatis Jr. He's been out with COVID protocols. Jorge Mateo, Jurickson Profar, Will Myers, Eric Hosmer. But one of the things that jumps out to me about the Padres injury list is they've got 5 pitchers. That's right, 5 pitchers who are on their injury list because they are either undergoing or have undergone Tommy John surgery. The likes of Mike Clevenger, the likes of Michael Baez, the likes of Adrian Morejon and Trey Wingenter. And now it makes sense why Jace Tingler is being so cautious with Dinelson Lamet. Dinelson Lamet came into the game on Sunday night against the Cardinals. He actually got roughed up a little bit for the first time this season, even though it looks like the Padres are on pace to sweep the Cardinals and take that series. But it makes sense that maybe these 100-mile-per-hour guys have a little bit less longevity than these 93 to 96-mile-per-hour guys. Maybe not even a little bit less, because we know of some of these guys that have undergone 1 and in some cases even 2 Tommy John surgeries. So maybe these are the guys that are going to be bullpen guys. If you throw 100, if you throw 98, 99, 100 miles an hour, maybe you're a bullpen guy. And we see it with the New York Mets, with Jacob deGrom, where it's not an arm injury, thank goodness, but it's a back injury. Noah Syndergaard throws 100 miles an hour, had a lat injury. Then he underwent Tommy John surgery. So you see that these hard throwers, maybe the body just isn't meant to do this over the course of a long period of time. Anyway, a discussion for another day. Padres managing their injuries very well. Really impressed with the job that Jace Tingler is doing as a whole, especially with the COVID protocol, all of those different things. A couple of other things this week. The New York Yankees, looks like they are finally heating up, playing to their potential on offense at least. Looks like their pitching is still going to be a touch-and-go situation for the year. They did lose on Sunday in Baltimore, but they're starting to hit the ball. Aaron Judge, home runs over the course of the weekend in Baltimore. Clint Frazier, Gary Sanchez heating up as well. So it looks like the Yankees are rounding into form and will compete in the American League East. So for Monday's slate, 8-game slate, going to talk about a couple of pitchers, a couple of stacks that I really like here. I've already talked a little bit about Trevor Story and Yu Darvish and the Rockies going into San Diego. It's just worked for me over the course of the last 4 or 5 seasons that I've been playing daily fantasy sports, and it's a pattern. And I like to follow the patterns of the game, the patterns of the players. When the Rockies, and whoever they're playing for that matter, leave Coors Field and get into different hitting environments, they tend to have letdown games. And Colorado in particular is just such a different team at home than on the road. And they're going into San Diego, one of the better pitchers' parks in Major League Baseball. But in addition to that, they're taking on Yu Darvish, who has looked phenomenal in the early going, a 31% strikeout rate. He's 10.2 on DraftKings. I think Yu Darvish is going to mow down the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies, a 19% K rate overall as a team over the last couple of weeks, but one of those weeks has been fully at home in Colorado, but just a 77 metric rating, weighted runs creation plus. I think Yu Darvish is one of the easiest plays on the slate on Monday night at home against Colorado. They had somewhat of a bullpen game, the Padres did on Sunday night against the Cardinals, so I expect that Yu is going to have even a little longer leash than usual. And you have Garrett Cole at the top. Garrett Cole's been great. He's going into Texas. Texas is likely going to have that roof closed, and the Rangers do strike out a lot against right-handed pitching, especially right-handed power pitching. But I would prefer Yu Darvish, 10.2, at home against Colorado. I actually hope he comes in lower owned. Maybe he won't because we're talking about him early in the morning on Monday. But Yu Darvish against Colorado, he will be my top pitcher on Monday. Next guy, going to go down a little bit. A guy that's been hurt, he's been injured, and his team needs him. They need him especially because Huascar Ynoa got knocked out of the box pretty early on Sunday in Milwaukee. I'm talking about Max Fried. Max Fried, Cy Young contender. The last 2 seasons, Max has been hurt early on in the year. Had a pretty good start, looked really good against the Toronto Blue Jays last time out. He's just 7.3 on DraftKings. He's taking on a New York Mets team that itself is dealing with a number of injuries offensively. Michael Conforto left the game on Sunday in Tampa Bay. Jeff McNeil left the game on Sunday in Tampa Bay. Looks like those guys may be headed to the injured list. The Mets were swept in Tampa Bay. They continue on the road and head into Atlanta. And Max Fried with a 23% strikeout rate. The Mets with a 21% strikeout rate with their lineup. Going to be a little bit more depleted. I like the chances that Max Fried does well here against the New York Mets on Monday night in a home start in Atlanta against the Mets team that's a little bit injured and coming in a little bit hobbled. So pairing Yu and Max Fried gives us plenty of salary to spend on our hitters. You could pair Yu with Garrett Cole. You're going to have to find a few more punts. I think they're out there, and I think that might be actually a popular route tonight. But if we go with Yu and Max Fried, then we have a little bit more flexibility for the two teams that I'm really interested in stacking on this Monday slate. And the first is the Cleveland Indians on the road in Los Angeles against Patrick Sandoval. Patrick Sandoval, a 15% walk rate, a 15% barrel rate, an expected ERA of 8.33. So this Cleveland team, which has been playing fairly well, but I think they have some guys who can take advantage of this matchup against Patrick Sandoval. Let's start with a guy that is not a household name, I don't think at least, unless you're playing daily fantasy sports. Ahmed Rosario, 3.3K. He should be up near the top of the lineup. Really, really good. I've been using him against left-handed pitchers since he was with the New York Mets prior to the Frankie Lindor trade. Ahmed Rosario, 3.3. Jose Ramirez heated up over this weekend in Seattle. He's 5.7. You have to spend up for him, but I think he's a really good play against Sandoval. Franmil Reyes at 4.2. And here's your punt catcher of the evening, Austin Hedges, if he makes the lineup, which he's expected to as of now, 2.4K. So Cleveland Indians against Patrick Sandoval. The other stack I really like, talked about Jose Abreu and the White Sox going into Minnesota to take on J Happ and the Twins, and that league or a little bit below league average bullpen so far this year. Timmy Anderson, 5.3 leading off. Jose Abreu, 5.4. Andrew Vaughn, 2.4 in the outfield. 2.4, huge salary saver here. Like him a lot in this matchup. And Yermin Mercedes, 4.6K at the catcher position if you wanted to pay up. If you're not going to go with you and Cole, then you go with Yermin, 4.6. Los Angeles, Cleveland Indians at the Angels. Stack them up and stack up the Chicago White Sox taking on J Happ in Minnesota. So we rounded out with a couple of bets. Talked about the Chicago White Sox going into Minnesota taking on J Happ. I like the White Sox run line here. I think there's some equity in the minus 1.5 run line. It's plus 135. I think against J Happ and that bullpen, with as hot as the White Sox have been, they should have no problem winning this game by 2 runs or even much more than that. So the Chicago White Sox minus 1.5 at a plus 135 at the DraftKings Sportsbook. That's a play that I like a lot. And then the Yankees were in maybe the 3rd or 4th best hitting park in Major League Baseball this weekend in Baltimore. They have started to get hot at the plate, but they now go into Texas. They go into Globe Life Field where the roof should be closed. And I say should be because I'm not sure if it's going to be, but it normally is closed. And they're taking on Jordan Lyles, but behind Jordan Lyles, that Texas Rangers bullpen has been really, really good this year. Garrett Cole pitching for the Yankees. Again, I often don't like to look at the unders. I don't like to take the unders, but the over-under in this game for the run line is 8 runs. It's a minus 113 favorite, but I think there's value there because I see this as a 4-3, 4-1 even game with the Yankees maybe taking the advantage. Again, under 8, minus 113, New York, Texas run line. So that's it. That does it. And if that changes, or if you want different opinions, runpurebets.com. Our guys will have picks up throughout the day, and runpuresports.com. Just in case there are any changes, if our minds change, we get some information. Maybe the roof is open in Texas. Maybe that changes the way that we're going to approach this slate or these picks. So, RPS Heater 25, that gets you 25% off your first month's payment. Good luck, and run pure tonight.